All right. Mr. Goldstein, is there anything you'd like to say on behalf of your client?
Yes, Your Honor. This is a fairly unusual situation in that you cannot deny that certain things happened. There's no question that they did. But this is not the person, meaning Ms. Carden is not the person who did those things. That's not what she's accused of. She's not accused of doing things. She's accused of not doing things, which is not protecting her children. She was doing cocaine. She's doing morphine. She's doing heroin. She was doing alcohol on a daily basis. Some of them starting from when she was 13 years of age.
Ms. Carden, is there anything you'd like to say on your own behalf?
First and foremost, I would like to take the time to apologize to my children, family, and court for all the pain and suffering I have caused. The time I have taken away from people, not only during my incarceration, but also prior to that because of my addiction. I'd like to throw myself at the mercy of the courts during my sentencing. Your Honor, as you see, I have a severe addiction problem. After 16 months of incarceration, I can finally admit I want and need help. I feel prison doesn't help people with addictions and mental health problems. I'm begging for a second chance at life. I'd like to do a long-term inpatient dual diagnosis treatment center. I realize my mental health is my #1 trigger. I know it's a lot of work and recovery, but with the right support, I know I can and will do it. I'm 37 with a college degree and have never been in trouble before this. I can promise I will never get in trouble again as I have learned my lesson. I've already lost everything due to my addiction and choices I've made, including my children, my family, my career.
Twice.
Your Honor, I know usually only one prosecutor speaks, but I'd ask the court to allow me to say my piece as well as Mr. Hartong. I would like to indicate for the court that we heard this morning that Ms. Carden was convicted based on her failures to act instead of an act itself. Jamie Carden was notified multiple times Sam Compton and Ernie Black were sex offenders. It's not that she failed to protect them. She put them in situations to be around those sexual predators. She indicated she did that because she was getting money, vehicles, whatever she needed to feed her drug habit. That's not a failure to act. That's a willful act to put your child in those situations. First time that I met the young lady that stood before this court to speak to you, she couldn't have even reached my shoulder. Over the years, I've watched her grow into a beautiful, strong young woman, and I've heard about the awful things that she's been through. So to suggest that this is just something short of evil, I don't agree with. And I'm asking the court to sentence to the 12.5 to 40 years.
Mr. Hartog?
So because we did a lot of this work in advance in terms of what we're doing today, in terms of the actual numbers of sentencing, the court's choice today is somewhat limited on these matters. And the court is really deciding, I believe, decide on the bottom end of the sentence for the child discharge between 10 years and 12.5 years. And the very thorough, very concise report compiled by Jennifer Walsh lays out very, truly significant reasons why to follow her recommendation, which includes the 40-year cap, 40-year maximum cap on the top, and the 12.5-year recommendation on her part as well. And for the reasons what I'm saying, what the court has heard today, what Ms. Weiss has said, and what the victim has said, those are all very well supported. What I want to say directly is that the breadth and scope of the tragedy that was put in motion by Jamie Carden's drug addiction borders on mythological Greek tragedies. Let's take a look at what happened here. Because she has a drug addiction, she basically sold her daughter for drugs. Her daughter was actually assaulted because the defendant has a drug addiction. Because the defendant has a drug addiction, the victim's father, in cold blood, murdered 2 men and almost a third, and almost murdered the defendant. He testified as such at the preliminary examination that occurred in this case.
I'm sorry, you can't talk right now, please.
What Ms. Carden said was he tried to kill himself too.
He was doing a murder-suicide is what he was doing.
And that's all very accurate. The man that he didn't kill, the man that he didn't murder went to trial, Ernie Black. And the victim testified in that case. And the victim testified in the preliminary examination for that case. And she was strong, and she told the jury what happened. And Mr. Black was convicted of criminal conduct in the first degree. And because he had a prior criminal sexual conduct in the first degree or third degree. He is now imprisoned for the rest of his life without a chance for parole. This is the kind of victim that we have in this case. She is strong and she is courageous. And when it was time for Mr. Black to be sentenced, he had a letter written out just like she had today. And again, she had some difficulty at first. And I remember in the hallway, and she didn't want to do anything. So I said, "Are you ready to go in and bury this son of a bitch?" She went in and spoke with courage, just like she did today, and with a higher volume than she did today. This has gone on for a long while. Ms. Weiss is correct. It was first started out with Ms. Borders, myself, and Ms. Weiss. We have literally watched her grow up into a very brave young woman, all because of what happened. And I'm sure that's bittersweet from their perspective. Probably sad from their perspective, because if she did not know Ms. Borders and Ms. Weiss and myself, she would not be here today. Having had what happened. She has emerged out of this much more than a survivor. She's a hero.
Thank you.
And I may make a few comments after hearing this.
Sure.
As the court knows, I've known Mr. Hartung for many, many years. And I've always respected Mr. Hartung for, among a number of reasons, his professionalism. And that showed here today. Because when he addressed the court, he didn't say that all these terrible things happened because of my client. He said all of these terrible things happened because of her drug addiction, which is exactly the same thing that I said in this court when I addressed the court a few moments ago. Jamie Carden is not a bad person. Jamie Carden doesn't go out looking to do bad things, but Jamie Carden had a terrible drug addiction. And that's where if you want to talk about blame, at least 80% or more of the blame rests with that addiction and not with Jamie Carden. Now, he also went on, one thing that I do disagree with that he said to the court, he talked about Chris Carden, and he somehow seemed to feel that Chris Carden only did what he did because of my client, and that's not true. You want to talk about someone who made a conscious choice to do something. Chris Carden picked up a gun and killed people and tried to kill this person standing next to me, and she's not responsible for what Chris Carden did, nor is her drug addiction responsible for what Chris Carden did. One person in this world is responsible for what he did, and that's him. The court can address him when the time, I assume, I don't know if you have it or Judge Olsaver does, but that will be addressed at the appropriate time. But this is the person, Jamie is the one being sentenced today, not Chris.
In determining the appropriate sentence in this case, the court has considered the seriousness of the offense, your history, the principal proportionality, the statutory penalty, the cost of confinement, the sentencing guidelines, the report and recommendation of the probation department, as well as what has been said upon the record at this hearing. The criteria and reasons for the sentences are the nature and gravity of the offenses, the discipline appropriate to their commission, deterrence against repetition by you and by others, the potential for reformation, vindication for law, and the protection of society. It is the sentence of the court that on file number 22-20792FH, you will be sentenced to the Michigan Department of Corrections for a period of 1 year, 4 months to 2 years with credit for 29 days. And that is on the fleeing fourth degree charge. So you will pay a crime victim assessment fee in the amount of $130, DNA testing fee in the amount of $60, and a $68 state cost. On file number 22-21124FC, on count 1, assault with intent to do great bodily harm less than murder or by strangulation. It is the sentence of the court that you will serve 5 years to 10 years with credit for 543 days with the Michigan Department of Corrections. There is a crime victim assessment fee in the amount of $130 and $68 in state costs. On file number 22-21124FC, count 2, first degree. It is the sentence of the court that you will serve a period of 12 and a half years to 40 years with the Michigan Department of Corrections with credit for 543 days already served.
Comment your opinion, like the video, and subscribe for more Real Courtroom moments.